Hi, and welcome to Asteria's Convos, where we are community, building the future. I'm your host, Asteria Elzea, hosting from land currently known as Los Angeles that has been tended for thousands of years by the Tongva and Chumash peoples. I owe everything I am to lands in the traditional territories of the Sauk and Fox nations. I acknowledge these ancestral tenders as a truth practice and reminder of the violence in our shared history, which has privileged myself and my farmer ancestors. Other identities I lead with are white, gender nonconforming, bisexual, and polyamorous. I'm newly discovered neurodivergent. I have CPTSD, severe generalized anxiety, and am chronically ill with Ehlers-Danlos. I've trained in connection and community building with Desiree Attaway, Beautiful You Coaching Academy, and in Carmen Spaniola's attachment-based, trauma-informed facilitation method. I have a work history in special events and as a stagehand. Plus, I'm a certified data analyst and practicing witch. I hope to explore all these topics and more on Asteria's Convos. So here we go! Hi, and welcome to Asteria's Convos, where we're community building the future. We're going to let today's guest introduce herself as usual. Who are you, your name and pronouns, and what identities do you lead with? And I'm just going to stand up and light a candle as you tell us.
My name's Courtney Maland, and I identify as she and her. And my identities that I lead with is I am a healer, I am a witch, I'm neurodivergent, I am autistic as fuck, I am an alchemist, I am a recovering Catholic. I guess, yeah, I think those are all like the things that I usually am telling people when I first meet them. Those are the things that I lead with. You need to know things about me so that you can kind of have an idea of this quirkiness and light that comes through.
Absolutely. Tell me more about your identity as an alchemist.
Well, I started in energy work when I was a wee child, playing with candles and just seeing energy as a kid, seeing colors and things like that. And so I was always playing with it. And then when I got older, I got signed off on Reiki and I was introduced to Reiki's energy work. And then from there, I was able to build off of what I do because I am an intuitive body worker. And so because of that, when I touch people, my hands are having a story with the body and I'm moving. So I hold space and I expand space for my clients. And so the alchemy comes in when my clients come in and they feel drained or heavy or any type of way that's not serving their higher purpose. And so when my hands touch them, I'm able to move that energy off of their being and send it up to Source or Mother Earth, because those are two identities that I know that can handle that energy and move it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've touched on this some, but what's your work in the world?
So my work has always been intuitive body work and energy alchemy. So I started, working on my Nana. I used to massage her ankles when she was, sitting in a chair and she had edema, and my little 6-year-old hands would move up her ankles and I would watch magically as her cankles would turn into actual ankles. And I didn't know at the time that that was lymphatic drainage, but it planted a seed that I had magic hands. And so I've always touched people. I've always felt like when I'm consoling someone, I reach out and touch them. And I've always been told that I just have a very healing presence and a healing touch. And so it took a long time to identify as a healer, but now I recognize that I'm co-creating with Source on that. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, you absolutely did. And how are you building community in your healing?
Well, I have a few ways that I do that because my community is the people that I meet and that are in my swirl. So one of the ways that I do that is I have these awesome cards that I pass out to people. And the card reads, "Hey there, you're pretty fucking awesome. And I thought you should know. Keep that shit up because it makes the world a better place. Live in love." And then on the back of the card, it says, "Pass it on." So the idea of that is to be able to see people and perceive people. And most of the time, I feel like when I'm handing those cards out, I feel called to hand them out. And so I hand them out to people that I think feel like even they themselves are forgotten and not seen. And so it's nice to shine a light on people who don't feel like they're necessarily seen by others. And then on a more, I know you're not into capitalism, but on a different capitalism, because I am a business owner, what I have done with my business is on Tuesdays, I have a local special and I offer body work for like a reduced rate, a significantly reduced rate. And then at the end of every month, the last week of the month, I open up my books to donation-based pricing, and my clients can choose between a 30 or a 60-minute service and pay what feels good to them in their pocketbook with no questions asked. And so I feel like I'm empowering people who sometimes allow themselves to live in like a victim mentality of like, there's never enough money, or I never have enough, and I'm not capable of taking care of myself, or I can't afford to take care of myself. And I don't want people to feel like massage is some out of touch thing that's only allowed in spas and bougie people. I want people to realize and recognize that massage is very much a part of the human condition. Everybody needs to be touched, and in a therapeutic, safe way. And so this allows people who wouldn't normally do for themselves to be able to do for themselves and feel empowered to do so. And I've had a few women who started on the donation-based tier, we'll say, but have been able to have more ease in their life because their physical being feels better. And so have gotten jobs and things have shifted and changed for them. And now they're on a Tuesday, or they're paying my regular rates because their life has elevated. And I really truly believe that I had a small portion in that, because I feel like when you feel good and your body feels good, you reflect that to the universe, and the universe reflects that back to you. So
Yeah. Well, and it also shows that you're putting care in on yourself. And I think the universe sees that and reflects that back as well. Like, oh, if you're going to care about yourself, then we can show that care back to you multi times, maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other way that I'm getting more involved in my community is just more like I'm joining the Chamber of Commerce for the first time in 6 years, so I can be more present in that way. And then just with my friends in general, I've joined a couple women's groups, and those have been profoundly life-changing for me, because I have always struggled with being around lots of women. You know, there's always been kind of an element of competition or cattiness. And I don't know if that was my age or just how I was perceiving things. But I know that recently I've done a lot of work on self. And now these groups have opened up to me. And now that I've been in these groups, it's not competitive, it's community-based, it's networking, it's how can we do more for our communities? How can we make something better? And so I've been dipping my toes into that, and that feels really good. And so that feels more community-based too, because these are all women within my community on the whole Central Coast region. So
On the Central Coast of California, right?
yes, Central California, I should say. I should reiterate that. That's like San Luis Obispo County and Santa Barbara County.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us again how you got into these groups of women that are like non-competitive.
Well, the first group, it just happenstance. I was with the girl and she was talking about this thing. She said, I don't have any friends. She had relocated from San Diego to Napomo. And she was like, I just don't have any friends, but I don't want friends that are just going to socialize. I want friends that are going to move mountains with me. I want friends that, like, I own a business. I want to be with other, not necessarily just business owners, but I want to be with women that are elevated, that want to elevate themselves and go somewhere with life and that type of thing. And I said, you should definitely do that. And she's like, and so she was like, my strengths are, I'm a goal person. I write goals and I accomplish goals, and that's really who I am. And I was like, you should definitely teach a class on that. And she's like, I've been thinking about that. And so we were having a conversation. And when she got done talking, I said, well, take my money. I'll be your first person. And she was like, really? And she told me later that because I was so adamant about her doing it and that I was willing to just give her money right then and there, that she moved forward on this group. So she started the group. I joined her group. And I'm so glad I did, because I happened to have a rare Monday night off. And I figured I can schedule off all my Mondays. We only meet twice a month. And we meet for 2 hours. And in that time, we've had a TikTok influencer. We've had a person come in who is an entrepreneurial woman herself. She has a program down at UCSC with women, elevating business women to go out and succeed. And she came and she taught us just in the 30 minutes of her speech, I got like so many golden nuggets on how to do things for myself. And what I really love about this course is month 1 was like decluttering our life. So the first week was decluttering our minds, writing down all the things that are in the back of your mind that you just don't get done, like, and then prioritizing between urgent and non-urgent. And then the second week was decluttering our home space and our home environment. The third one was decluttering relationships. And I say third one, but I mean third week, fourth week. She broke them down into weeks. And then second month was all about stepping outside of our comfort zone. And so in doing that, stepping outside my comfort zone was like stand-up comedy. And my ultimate goal in life is to be a motivational speaker. And so this is like the best way for me to go about that. Because if I can conquer stand-up comedy, I can certainly conquer motivational speaking, right? So this group led to that. And then the second group, there's a woman within this Mujeres y Metas group who she's been like my number one fan right now in my stand-up comedy. And she was like, hey, do you like women's groups? And I was like, honestly, I don't usually like women's groups. Well, I'm a part of this group and there's about 65 of us right now. And we're all go-getters. We're all entrepreneurs in some type of way. We all love to network. We like to have fun. We like to go out. Would you like to join us? And I was like, oh my God, yes, please. And so this group's a little bit different in the way that it's made up. Like it's $100 a year to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And each of your meetups and stuff, there's like a $35, at most $40 that you would pay if you actually attend said meetups. And then that money goes towards food, drinks, and like whatever the activity is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. I'm excited because I haven't done anything with that group yet, only that they are coming to my next open mic next Sunday to support me. So like I haven't even joined the group and they want to do that. So that feels really good.
That's really, really sweet. And okay, so you've said several things that I want to go back and touch on.
Absolutely.
Like, we'll go back to your cards that you pass out. And like when I met you, we were at a Good Witch retreat, who's an influencer on TikTok and Instagram. And it was just supposed to be like weed and women and witchy stuff all weekend. And yeah, you gave me one of the cards and we had such a fun time with the other people there. And I did feel like you made such an effort to talk to and connect with people and then give those cards out, which feels so good when you're like, oh, this person saw me especially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You speaking on that meetup that weekend, that was such a special weekend. There was only 18 of us total. And you are so soft-spoken and so sweet, and your light is so bright and gentle. And I had to know you. Do you know what I mean? Like when you meet someone that's just such a profound, gentle light, it was like, I'm a light too, but I'm the opposite of that. I'm like a bull in a china shop. I just like come in and I take up space, and you take up space, but it's like this graceful presence that comes into the room and it just is very calming. And so like, I couldn't wait to like converse with you and chat with you and like all the things and just
I love hearing people reflect back to me. I was just talking to my husband earlier at breakfast about like, people say I'm so special. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like a regular person. Yeah, I'm just a regular person, honestly. But like, he was like, you think so differently from other people and from such a wider lens than other people. And like, yeah, it's so special. And I love that you take up space and you're loud and like, I don't actually know how soft-spoken I am. And then sometimes, like, I was at my birthday party this past weekend and I was so excited, and people were like, wow, I wasn't expecting that from you. And like, I don't actually know what volume my voice is. Oh, but isn't it nice to see a woman taking up space?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were telling me before we got started with the call about how you got started with stand-up comedy, which you just did this weekend.
Yes.
Can you tell that story again?
Of course. Of course. Well, mostly just like I found these voice notes from a couple years ago of me like really, and it was the end of the year. It was like a year end reflection. And it was like, I really want to do stand up and I think I'm really funny. I just got to get over my stage fright. And like, this would be a funny joke. And even in the little voice notes, it was like I had little jokes and things. And that was literally 2 years ago. And then most recently, because I joined this women's group and it was about stepping out of our comfort zone, the creator of that group owns a coffee shop and she hosts this open mic night at the end of each month. And I saw that and I thought, and I had originally planned out to do it in December, at the end of December. I was like, oh, I'll give myself a full month. I can get polished, blah, blah, blah. But basically stretching out that fear, you know? And
Yeah.
so then I just had a F it moment and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do it at the end of this month. I'm going to do it at the end of this month because then I can just get it over with. And if I hate it, I'll never have to do it again, but I got it done and over with. And then if I love it, I can come back in December and just kill it. And so I did that. I did it on Saturday. I did a very, to me, easy jokes because I think farts are funny. I think like, I think that's a funny thing. I think that gets a giggle out of someone because we all do it. And so it's like being able to cast light on something that's so human and human natured and yet still so silly and funny just because farts are funny. The sound is funny. And so I killed it. Saturday was great. I was in a really safe place. It was at this coffee shop. Not everybody, but a good portion of the people that were there were people that I knew and they came to support me. They couldn't wait to support me. And then while I was there, I was told that there was another open mic night the next night on Sunday. And I thought, I should do that because then I know that I'm not going to have any familiar faces and I can really get an idea of different audiences and stuff. And I'm addicted to it. Like I spent 2 years hemming and hawing about being freaked out about talking in front of people. And then every time like leading up to Saturday, I would go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this comedy thing for open mic night. And like every single person that I told, their response was like, oh my God, you would be so good at that. It was like an instant, like, oh, yeah, duh. Yeah, that totally makes sense. You should absolutely do that. And it was just like, I get, like, I know I'm funny, but like, it's different when all your friends and the people around you are like affirming that you are funny and that you should definitely be in front of people sharing you're funny.
Yeah.
And honestly, like sidebar, I record and I record it live. Like I was live on my TikTok and live on my Instagram when I did my set last night. And it's great because I can go back and I posted it. And the comedy that was going on before I went up, I wasn't really paying attention to them because I had nervousness, but watching it the next day was like, oh, this is cringe. Like these men are literally beating down on women. And like, it's like, ew, oh, gross. Like one guy said, I'm so glad I got up to go to the bathroom and I completely missed his whole set. And I'm so grateful I did because when I watched it the next day, I was like, oh, he's so lucky I wasn't sitting in there. I probably would have heckled him anyways, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to come in as a female that takes up space, that's loud, doesn't care if I'm taking up space, to come back and roast these comics. Like I already know, like I went back and I have so many jokes now to like counterbalance the jokes that they did last week. And I can't wait to do that. Like I'm going to have my next week's set's going to be a little bit of a roast of the guys that went before me, but then also talking about my massage career because I feel like no comic out there is a massage therapist for one, and two has the inside scoop of what's really happening in a, calm, serene setting. Like what's it really like and what's the nitty gritty? And there's so much gold as far as content is concerned for comedy with the massage industry.
I bet there is. And I have wondered when I've been in there, like, what are other people like? I almost don't talk at all because of aforementioned quietness. But
Yes.
like, what are other people like in a massage session?
Oh God. Well, and I worked in Las Vegas too. So like
Oh, yeah.
a very, very different, profoundly unique experience. But like it also was a very good education too, because I got to work in Vegas. I worked on people from all over the world, because everybody comes to vacation in Vegas from all over. And so I got to work on people from all over. I got to work with people that didn't speak a lick of English and try to explain to them how to turn over on a table, how to get undressed. Like that was really, really fun and hard and so profoundly educational, because then you get to learn about different cultures and different people and how they are and how they treat women in other countries and how they have an expectation of certain things. Like I had a gentleman, I'll just do a for instance. I had a gentleman who ushered his wife and 7 children out of the room so he could get his massage.
Mhm.
And she had a baby in her arms. So like this poor woman had to like literally leave the hotel room with all those children. I thought, oh my God, what is she going to do with all those children? And then we had the massage. It was great. And at the end of the massage, he got like a little antsy and he was like, so do you do any extra? And I was like, extra. And I wasn't reading. I wasn't picking up on it at all. I was like, extra as in like an eye mask or like heated pill, like what? He's like, like it's like an add-on. Do you have any add-ons? And I was like, yeah, we have an eye mask. I can go back down. We can go get that. I mean, it's just something that I need to know before the service. And he was just like, no, do you do? And then I was like, do I do what? And he goes, I just want to know if I'm going to get a blowjob at the end of this. And I just was like, oh my God. I can't believe you just asked me that. I just watched your wife and all your beautiful children walk out the door. How would your wife feel if she heard about you begging or shouting about blowjobs at the end of a massage? And he goes, you wouldn't tell. And I was like, wouldn't? Like, don't you think it's in her best interest to know? I mean, you're reproducing all these beautiful children with her, and yet you're still demanding a blowjob from an absolute stranger. And he was just like, you wouldn't tell. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I will. Cause like I feel like that's something she needs to know. And he ended up tipping me the cost of the massage and then some. Like,
Wow.
Not that I was trying to do that, but I was like literally letting him know that like, I don't have a problem telling on you. Like this behavior is totally inappropriate. And how dare I didn't go to school and spend thousands of dollars on my education to be demanded for a sexual favor at the end of a therapeutic service.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to the stand up.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That was a wild story, though. Though I expected it, I guess, from Vegas, from massage therapy. Anyway, going back to the stand up and how you did it and you were so scared, like, and how you had wanted to do it for 2 years. Like, if we know people listening are sitting there like they have something that they've been wanting to do for 2 years. And what do you want to say to them?
You know what? I'm in my 40s now, but
Yeah.
and it's taken me a long time to get to this place of not giving an F what other people think, because there are literally people out there that are bombing it. They're not doing a good job, but they still are just doing it. And the sooner that you step out there and just do it, who cares if you fail the first time? It doesn't matter if you bomb and whatever you're doing, just do it, because getting on the other side of the fear of it is so worth it. Like the leap of faith is so rewarded so quickly. Like I cried on the way home after my first set. Like I had all these emotions flood through me, and I realized it was because I was literally nourishing the little kid in me that was like, oh my God, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life. And you finally did it. You finally listened to me. So if there's something inside of you that you're absolutely yearning to do, but you're afraid, I'd ask yourself, what are you so afraid of? Because like, what is there really to fear? Honestly, life is so short and we're not promised tomorrow. We could die literally tomorrow in the next hour and never know. And yeah, I think living with regret is worse than trying something and being bad at it for a little bit. I just think it's totally worth it. I have a client who's in her 70s who regrets not doing things. And her telling me she regrets not doing things is even more of a push to do the things that are uncomfortable and scary. Because honestly, we're humans. We're meant to have uncomfortable scenarios in our life so that we grow. And you can't move forward in anything that you want to do unless you push past those fears. So I say, screw whatever anybody else is thinking. Like, because there's other people that are doing it worse than you are, and you should just be out there with sharing your light because we're worth it.
Right. Absolutely. I'm so much more scared of regretting not doing something than doing something. I've done so much in my life, and I some of it wasn't fun, but that doesn't mean I regret doing it. And some of it I look back now and I'm like, wow, that was really not smart. Where like rode with somebody driving 130 miles an hour, like down the freeway, like wildly not smart. But I was 21 and like I was okay. And I guess I would much rather do stuff. That's not maybe the best example
No,
of
it's a
stuff
great
I would
example
rather do,
because
but
now
like,
that it's dangerous, but you're still allowing yourself the freedom to feel that adrenaline, to feel that rush, and to know what it feels like. You have a story now that you can say, I've gone 135 miles in a car. Not
yeah,
very many people can say that they've done that because too many
no,
people are afraid to take that risk.
yeah. Okay, our next question. How are you looking towards the future with your actions?
How am I looking towards the future?
Yeah.
I think the future is bright. I am really excited because, as I said, the stand up comedy thing literally just happened. And then this podcast happened. And before we did this today, I was racking my brain on how I would even answer these questions because I feel like sometimes being a massage therapist is so ordinary. But then this to me is so exciting because this is like a hard left to everything that I've been doing. And so looking towards the future, I am looking forward to sharing my perspective on the world because I feel like it's so unique because I am an energy transmuter. I don't receive negativity anymore. It's like if someone's like harping on me and nagging me, I'm like, oh my gosh, you are just a misdirected fan or you're a misguided fan because there's such a thin line between love and hate. So if you're hating on me, I know it's because you really deep down love me and it's okay. I send you love back. Drives people crazy, but it works.
Yeah.
So I look forward to the future in being continuing to heal myself in my shadow and in my shadow work so that I can continue to shine bright and burn out the demons that are attached to others.
Yeah. And do you think that that goes on to help people around you too?
I think so, yeah, because people are allowed, I'm leading by example, right? So
Hmm.
if I lead by example and I'm my quirky, autistic self and I say things that are unfiltered, if other people see that and they're like, oh, well, she's just a positive light and she's just being her quirky self, then maybe I can be my quirky self. And I feel like if more people see other people just being their authentic selves, it allows other people to maybe put down that mask that they're always wearing that exhausts them at the end of the day. Maybe it's okay to put down that heaviness that they're holding, that armor around themselves. Maybe it's okay to like set that down for a little bit and allow that inner self to shine a little brighter. So absolutely, I know that I have an effect on the people around me because the people around me are like me. They water the flowers in the real time. Like a saying that I've been saying a lot lately is I would rather water your flowers now than give you your funeral flowers later. So I love to tell people, I love you. I'm glad that I'm glad you exist. I'm happy to see you today. Like I don't have a problem gassing the people up around me. Even people I don't like, I gas them up anyways, because what harm is it to spread more love than animosity and hate? There's so much of that already. So why not just spread a little more love to people?
Yeah.
It has a profound effect. And I think it's contagious, just like it's contagious to laugh. It's contagious to be positive.
Yeah. And we've scientifically studied that it's contagious to laugh and that it makes your brain better. Like it releases the chemicals in your brain that make you feel better. And the better people feel, the better they treat the people around. And I like to think of all that effect when I'm just going about my day. Like, I don't know. Are you familiar with the Chicken Soup for the Soul books? Like, I was a kid and I was reading Chicken Soup for the Soul for kids and Chicken Soup for the Soul uh, for
Jack
teens.
Canfield. Okay, so you want to hear a still cool story about the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series that you read when you were a kid?
Yeah.
He reintroduced, it was like a, I don't know, 10th anniversary edition of his other book, The Success Principles. And so he spoke in Santa Barbara and I got to see him speak. And the thing is before it happened, one of my clients invited me to go do this, and she was having a conversation with him before he went on stage, and she invited me over to meet him. And so I met him and I handed him an awesome card.
Oh,
read it, and he goes, "Hey there." He's reading it out loud. "You're pretty fucking awesome." And he dipped down and he looked at me and he goes, "Boy, you're really out there, aren't you?" I was like, "Heck yeah." And then there were 2 other women that were with him that didn't appreciate the language, but he took the card and you could tell he appreciated it. He just was not expecting there to be a foul word on there immediately. But it was really cool. I got to give him a business card and he knew exactly where I lived because his wife is from this area in the San Ynez Valley. And so I got to meet him and I got to give him an awesome card. So I feel really
so cute. Yeah.
do that. Yeah. Sidebar conversation. I know that man.
So what I was going to say about it is that like the stories that impacted me the most were the ones where somebody was like, oh, I was going home to put, like I had taken all my textbooks home from school and it was going to be my last day on earth, but someone smiled at me and said hi, and that changed the rest of my days. And then we were friends. Or like, just, I try to think about it as I'm going throughout my day. Like, what little kindnesses, how far is it going to go if I'm just a little bit nicer to everybody?
That ripple effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you here to promote?
Love and laughter.
Love and laughter. We've had here people here to promote pleasure, to promote caring about people. Love and laughter is a good one.
Love and laughter. Well, yeah, because obviously I'm a body worker and I care immensely about humans and their bodies, but definitely laughter, because laughter transmutes energy. You can transmute something negative and painful and traumatic from childhood and make jokes about it and invite other people to laugh with you. And that's the other thing, taking ownership. If you take 100% responsibility for your life, there's no one to blame. So if I take 100% responsibility for the traumatic things that happen in my life and make jokes about them, you're no longer laughing at me, you're laughing with me. And now we can heal together. Promoting laughter.
Okay. Yeah. Does it ever feel, if you take 100% responsibility for the trauma that happened to you, can I ask, does it feel victim blaming ever?
No, because how I would rephrase that is, when I say I take 100% responsibility for my life, it means that I recognize that the traumas that happened to me were lessons to learn from. It was training for deeper things that happen later in life. Because honestly, I had a very, very rough childhood, as I suspect most people do that are neurodivergent brained. I feel like there's a correlation there. I don't have the scientific proving, but that's another conversation. But I really feel like, where was I going with that? What was I saying?
We were talking about if it's victim blaming to take 100% responsibility.
I don't feel like it's victim blaming, because those are things that happened for us, because that's training. Because like having a rough start means that now we've been through that. And even though we didn't have the tools because our little selves were trying to navigate it, we are teachers later in life for other people that can't navigate that or are still struggling so much. It's like, oh, I've been there. I've seen that. Do you want me to hold your hand through that? Do you want me to hold your hand through this space? Do you need someone to just talk to? I can't tell you how many people who have also experienced trauma and they're like really deep, horrific things that they're intellectualizing it when they speak it to you. Mm-hmm. But you're able, at least for myself, I'm able to be like, oh, well, do you want to sit in that? Do you want to have more of a conversation about that? And literally, I'll be the very first person in their entire life that can actually sit there, hold space, and not get emotionally involved or start to get too much of like feeling pity or something like that. And so, no, I don't ever feel victim blaming, because I know that my mother, who was my biggest bully, whatever, she was being reactionary to her unhealed traumas. And so having a perspective of being able to look at my mom through 44-year-old eyes instead of neglected 5-year-old eyes makes it so much easier to not, there's no one to blame. There's no victims to be had, because I've already recognized and take 100% responsibility in the sense of like, I recognize that this trauma happened. And I also recognize that there isn't anyone to blame unless you wanted to go all the way back to the original person, but that person's no longer here. They're like they're not in this plane of existence. So there's no one to blame in that sense.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question or if I danced around it.
I think you did. You answered a question about why it feels good to you to take responsibility that way. There's something else I wanted to say about neglected children. I was one. Okay, some things. Neurodivergent people, we don't have autistic people that get to adulthood in this society without trauma because our society is built to disable autistic people. So whether you have the socially accepted form or you have giftedness or you have aspects of nonverbalness and aspects of mutism and aspects of what we don't consider like socially acceptable or we consider it low functioning, whatever those terms are that are not very accepted by the autistic community anymore. Like, we don't raise anyone, even if somebody's doing well enough to mask, they are just putting all that trauma into their bones instead.
Yes.
Yeah. Their muscles, I guess, more accurately.
But tissues, right? That gets trapped into the tissues. That's why it's important to have like people in your life that are able to recognize that and know what that looks like, what that feels like. I get some that are still in a freeze. Their bodies are frozen because their nervous system has never had an opportunity to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting place to work with someone, especially since I don't have formal somatic healing that some people have. I only go off of my intuition. And so when I can feel a body like that, I'm always like taking huge steps backwards because in my field of study, it's always to like push the tissues and move the tissues. But then there's also a form of body work where you're just holding. There's holds. It's like a form of myofascial release.
Yeah.
And you're just doing these holds to let the body know that you're not there to cause harm, but to allow it to soften and release. And that's a very different form of body work, but still so special.
Right. The other thing I wanted to say was about your ability to sit with other people when they to talk about hard things. And that has come up, I think, with several of the people I've talked to on the podcast so far, that it is so hard to sit with people when they're having a hard time and to just sit in the feelings with them without brushing them off and pushing them away. And that can be just absolutely life-changing for people to just be able to listen to them.
Not offering insight, not offering a commentary, just to sit and receive the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really hard to do. And that's not something that someone can do unless they were already like programmed to be that person in this lifetime. Do you know what I mean? That's not something that everybody can do. It's really difficult to shut the ego down and just be in the present moment with someone. I have a best friend who does that brilliantly. And I've been able to kind of just learn from her and cheeks go raw on the inside sometimes because I'm the first to like that sharpness of mind always wants to be like this. And really that's not helpful to someone who's already like, can't do that, can't process that. I also recently came across another person in my soul family who actually sat me down and worked me through. Like I actually got to sit and talk about time in my life when I was SA'd in college. And that was like a 25-year-old wound that he walked me through, held my hand through, and I actually got to share it. And it took me 2.5 weeks to process the after effect of that. But I'm forever changed. And that's another reason why I did the stand-up comedy is because it took a block off of me. Some block was holding on to some deep-seated wounding. But now because I've been able to sit through that with someone who literally, when I looked up at him and he didn't have And there was another woman present. There was two people in the room. And I looked at both of them, and neither one of them looked at me with pity. Neither one of them looked at me with like anger for like that happening to me. No, neither one. It is neutral faces. I'd never seen neutral faces talking about heavy shit like that with anyone. And so I knew that I was in the right, finally, in the right space to release and let go.
Yeah.
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 So I am open to creating more of those safe spaces for others because it had such a profound effect on my life.
Well, and you can have such a profound effect on people one-on-one. And then we go back to the ripple effect.
Yes.
Yeah. That healed people have more space to heal people. Yeah.
So factual.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today. It's been so great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To see your face and to talk to you because I know we don't get to talk very often. We're usually flying by and seeing each other in the social media spaces, but I'm so happy to see your face and I'm so grateful and honored to sit here on your podcast. This is so special. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in to Asteria's Convos. You can find the links for this episode in the episode description. You can find me, Asteria Elzea, on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads as at asteria.elzea and on Blue Sky as at Asteria Elzea. Spell it Asteria dot ELZEA. Please leave a review on your favorite podcast hosting service. That's the absolute best way for our community to grow. Remember, your actions create the future. All my love, Asteria Elzea.